With the latest mass shooting in Seattle, it should be pretty clear by now. We get the city we deserve. Welcome to the Jason Rand Show, presented by Nunn Better Tax Resolution. Seattle saw its third mass shooting in the last 30 days or so, and we should not have assumed that Mayor Bruce Harrell would show even an ounce of leadership. We were right to make that assumption. He didn't. He continued to lean on lazy reactions blaming gun violence, rather than actually addressing the crisis that Democrats created. And residents, let's be honest, they don't seem to mind the lack of leadership. And that means we're getting the city that we deserve. On Sunday, early morning at a hookah bar, there was a shooting that left 3 people dead and at least 6 people injured. It was likely gang-related based on my sources, but also the fact that victims and witnesses are apparently not cooperating with police. Now, this brings the total homicide victims in Seattle to 47, putting us on pace to exceed last year's 56 and possibly our 25-year high, 57. Despite this being the third recent mass shooting, Bruce Harrell had his spokesperson fill out his Blame Guns Mad Libs statement. He released it on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. Now, per usual, he won't accept any blame. He won't acknowledge the crime crisis. And then, of course, move forward with some reforms. There are none. He wrote in the statement, "No place in this country is free from the awful epidemic of gun violence, which once again reverberates here in Seattle." Now, of course, he doesn't explain who is responsible for pulling that trigger. He never calls out the criminal. He doesn't mention gang violence. He doesn't mention the fact that the shooter, probably, almost certainly, the beneficiary of the Democrats' soft on crime policies and laws. Seattle criminals rarely face serious repercussions for their crimes, especially when they're youth, no matter how dangerous. At worst, they get light prison sentences, where faux concerns over equity mean that they'll be released before they even settle into their jail cells. The rest, well, they get pushed into restorative justice programs that don't actually work and have little oversight. What's not so little is their growing budgets, despite the few results they provide. Criminals know they can get away with almost anything, so that's how they act. We're dealing with brazen crimes that no Democrat in charge will tackle head on. If it's not gun violence, it's out of control drug use and homelessness. It doesn't have to be this way. We must deal with violent criminals aggressively, regardless of their age. Now, if Democrats believe in restorative justice programs, great, provide them in jail so that those people are not re-victimizing the community. Now, if it's a judge or a prosecutor that's going easy on a criminal, let's call them out by name. Let's put pressure on anyone who puts their ideology above community safety. And then let's talk about the Seattle Police Department. Those officers should be given a long overdue contract. They should be paid the highest in the state because they deal with the most danger. And guess what? The city should actually work to recruit the right kind of cops instead of working to socially engineer a force so that it has fewer white people and military veterans. Seattle is the city we deserve right now because voters have over and over and over again signaled that they're okay with it. They're okay with what we're doing. They're okay with what we're experiencing. They vote for the same far-left activists who put their ideology over our welfare. And just when you think Seattleites are ready for a change, they disappoint and they re-elect more extremists. Others pretend there's no crisis to begin with. All is well. It's those conservatives who are lying about the crises. Seattle is thriving. Take that, Fox News. Look, San Francisco right now is imploding, and it's imploding in real time thanks to a council, mayor, and voters who pushed through and supported all of their extremist policies. And while some have changed their tune and are trying to walk back their previous positions, Washington, D.C. is a really great example of this. After adopting rabidly pro-criminal policies and postures, they're now doing an about-face. They're trying to aggressively tackle the crime crisis that they created. Both San Francisco and D.C., unfortunately, may be too far gone to truly recover. Seattle isn't that far behind. Voters could actually do something to save the city they claim to love. We have an election coming up. We could boot every single incumbent to the curb. But those of us who actually acknowledge the various crises and the policy decisions that are to blame, we shouldn't hold our collective breath. Will anything change in Seattle? Not if this election unfolds like the last few. The writing is on the wall. Only Seattle can save itself. Otherwise, we're going to continue to fail. People will continue to die, and we'll keep living in the city we deserve. Jason Rantz here with Greg Nunn, your local tax expert and advocate. Greg, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, Jason, great to be with you again and talk about these tax issues.
Okay, so why should anyone in trouble with the IRS contact you immediately?
The sooner the better, because it's so much easier to deal with an IRS situation at the beginning than when you're getting toward the end and they're getting very aggressive. And at the same time, it takes that pressure off of you sooner and gives you that peace of mind that, hey, no more fear of going to the mailbox because I'm here helping you.
So by connecting with you, can you assure people that they won't have the IRS on their doorstep or calling them nonstop?
When you have representation, you definitely do not want to talk to the IRS ever, and you don't have to. You are protected by statute, by law, that when you have representation, they have to deal with your representative. And I am acting in your best interest when I'm dealing with the IRS, and I tell you, you don't want to talk to them, it'll just stress you out.
Greg, thank you so much. That was really, really helpful.
Hey, it's my pleasure, and I just really hope that what I've said helps some people that are in tax difficulty.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn. Greg might be able to negotiate a settlement for up to 85% off the original amount owed, including penalties and interest. Call Greg Nunn today. Did you like this video? We have a whole lot more over at ktth.com.